Hello and welcome to Idaho Media Showcase. My name is Lance Thompson. I'm your host, and I'd like to remind you that you're either watching us at Friday nights at 7 p.m. or Monday mornings at 9 a.m. If you're watching us at either one of those times, you already know that. But in case you don't, those are the times to watch us. And we're also simulcast streaming on tvctvonline.org. So if your television set is on the fritz, so just turn on the computer and you can see us then. And we'll also be up on YouTube later on after the broadcast. So on to the most important thing. Our guest tonight is Amanda Turner. She is the Empress of all media here in Boise. She's done radio and television and movies and writing and all kinds of stuff. But at the moment, she's got a really big project that she's doing through the Idaho Writers Guild, and we'd like to ask her about that. So Amanda, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. Now tell us about your big rendezvous.
It's the Idaho Writers and Readers Rendezvous, and this is put on by the Idaho Writers Guild in conjunction with the BSU Story Initiative, and we have a whole host of other sponsors. And what we're really trying to do is bring a big city writers conference here to Boise, and I think the conference that we have could really rival any major writers conference in any other big city. So I'm really excited about it.
So is it open to the public? Do you have to be a writer to get in? Do you have to have a card or a?
It's open to the public, and that's why we call it the Idaho Writers and Readers Rendezvous. There are different registration fees depending on if you're a student, a member of the Idaho Writers Guild or not. And all of that is available at idahowritersrendezvous.com. And it's May 3rd through the 5th at the Boise Center, formerly the Boise Center on the Grove. And we just have a packed lineup.
So when you say we're going to rival any kind of writers conference, how do you do that? What do you have that?
You do that by we have literary agents coming from New York, San Francisco, San Diego. We have editors coming from New York, from Penguins and St. Martin's Press. We have authors coming, screenwriters, poets, Pulitzer nominees. Our keynote authors are Lori Natarjo and Tim Cahill. And it's just a dynamite lineup. I'm just really excited about it. But we also have, Idaho has a really rich literary scene going on here. So we have Tony Doerr doing workshops, and a lot of the local talent has come in to help as well.
Well, it does seem like Boise, or at least this part of Idaho, has a lot of creative people, especially writers. Why is that? Do you know?
Something in the water? I don't know. What is it? But it's a great place to be. It's a great place to be a writer as well.
Okay, so the people who attend this, they're going to be anybody who's interested in. Do you have to be a writer to be interested in this, or do you just like books? Do you like certain authors?
It runs the gamut. We have some people who are attending, writers who are then also signing up for pitch sessions where you can actually sit down, have 10 minutes one-on-one with an agent or an editor or an author, who's maybe someone who has published memoirs if you're working on memoirs. So you can get some good, honest feedback. We have a marketing consultant, David Lacani, and he's a local guy, and you can sit down with him for 10 minutes and tell him about your book, and he can give you strategies for marketing. Then you can dine with a presenter. You can go and have a meal with a presenter and maybe 2 other attendees. So you have a more intimate setting and a longer time to get to know these people.
And it sounds like you'd have more access than a lot of the, you're talking about writers' conferences in bigger cities. Right. That doesn't happen. You don't go sit down with the authors and...
No. No, and more opportunities. The reception on Thursday evening, it's a wine reception, and we'll have Oscar winner George Kennedy will be there signing his memoir, Trust Me.
Just came out, right?
Yep. So a lot of different things going on. And then 2 nights we have an open mic going on. So people get to compete, and there will be judges there judging them, and then they can win prizes for the
open mic sounds, so you have stand-up, or is it something else?
It's just reading your original work.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So audiobooks in person.
Exactly,
basically. Okay.
Exactly. And that's a great way. It gives writers a chance to gauge how the audience takes their work. You know, sometimes we have visions in our minds about how something will be perceived, and often you don't know until you get up and read it out loud in front of a crowd. So that can be really helpful.
Now, do you have to be the actual author, or can you hire some, like James Earl Jones to go up and read it for you? And
If you hire James Earl Jones to read your work, you might win a prize for that.
Okay, just for
that would be great. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I look forward to that. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned the pitch session. What, and you hear the term pitch a lot. What is that really? Is it?
A pitch is where you are, let's say you have a novel and this is your baby and you've been working on this forever. Well, you need to take all of that and condense it down into a 1 or 2 sentence commercial. You need to be able to sell your work and tell somebody not just the plot, but why they should want to read it, why it would be a marketable story, why it would be a product that they could get behind and really sell.
And you said you had marketing experts there to help you with that, and agents. Now, if somebody pitches to an agent or one of the publishers or something like that, will that person get feedback from those people, or will they just say, nah, yes?
They'll they always give feedback.
Okay.
They don't always request to see your material later, but sometimes they do, and you don't know until you try.
Right.
It's really a good idea for writers to get out there and try these things. It just can be a real eye-opener on where you are in your writing career, where you stand and what you need to work on. But they always give feedback. Yeah, it's not scary at all. They're honest but gentle.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's some 2 words I've never heard describe an agent. So
Right.
that's terrific. And so, what your role in this is?
I'm on the governing committee of the Idaho Writers Guild, and that governing committee is just 7 very committed volunteers, and there's more than just us 7. There's many other volunteers of people who just want to really make this happen and make it a success. And so we all take different roles. Like my role was getting the agents and the editors. That was just where I had contacts, and other people have contacts in screenwriting, and so that their role was getting them in, and just the logistics of something like this. It takes a lot of spreadsheets, you know.
Yes,
Yeah.
I
A
imagine
lot of
it's-
emailing back and forth and that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Now, and is this the main event for Idaho Writers Guild? What else do they do?
Well, this is our first big writers conference. Last year we did an agents conference. We just brought in 4 agents. It was a small scale conference, but it was a great success. It was wonderful. We also do monthly luncheons. Every other month we do Back Talk, which is an informal discussion. Quarterly we do random readings where we have authors come in. So we have a lot of different events going on. And this is just really trying to do a larger scale event, bringing in people from New York, you know, and having a lot of really good talent and people that you can learn from in one place.
And to be part of Idaho Writers Guild, or be one of those many volunteers you speak of, what do your credentials have to be?
So to be a part of the Idaho Writers Guild, you first need to be a member of the Cabin. We formed under the umbrella of the Cabin, and then the Idaho Writers Guild. What's our membership fee? $25 a year. It's very low. And it's just a place for writers to network, really help each other, learn about different opportunities, work opportunities, but also opportunities to improve your craft, your ability to pitch, all of the things that go into what make a working writer today.
You mentioned networking. Is networking important for writers? Because I remember the Mickey Spillane quote is, you know, to be a writer, all you need is a couple of bucks of paper and a typewriter and a mailbox. But is there more to it than that, really?
Well, yeah, we all think of writing as being such a solitary pursuit, but at some point you probably want to get it in front of other people. You want to get those eyes on it, and networking is important for that. But also when you develop your work, I mean, yes, you're writing by yourself, but feedback from other writers, from an audience, from test readers, I think is so important. So, and for encouragement. You know, if you don't want to be a writer with just a bottle of whiskey and a huge case of depression, you should get out and talk to other people, and it's good for other writers to support one another. So yeah,
I just had my license for a few months.
Okay. Yeah. So a great opportunity for writers and all that stuff, marketing and pitching and networking, all that kind of thing. Now you have a extensive background as a writer, magazines, non-fiction books, and you have a new book that just came out, or just coming out.
It's just coming out, yes. It's a collaborative effort. It's called Drinking with Dead Women Writers. And okay. I wrote this with Elaine Ambrose. She's a writer and a publisher in Eagle, Idaho. And what we did is we identified 16 of the greatest, but also deceased female voices in literary history. So Jane Austen, Sylvia Plath, Carson McCullers, Flannery O'Connor, Emily Dickinson, the Bronte sisters, you know, all of those people. And we took turns writing essays, imagining ourselves drinking with these people.
Oh, wow.
So, yes,
that's
Drinking with Dead
idea.
Women Writers, yeah.
It reminds me of that, the old Steve Allen show, The Meeting of the Minds, where they had like different people from history, played by actors, sit around a table and talk.
Right.
So is it that kind of thing? Like you're just having a conversation with Emily Bronte and,
you know. Absolutely. Yeah.
So what was your, did you each do different writers?
We each picked eight of the writers. And then we would, the way we wrote it was interesting too. I had never, you know, collaborated. I'd never been a co-author before, but we would write an essay, we would have weekly deadlines, and then we'd email the essays to one another and then give feedback and send them back and edit back and forth. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
So that's working pretty closely when you're working with another writer. Yeah. It's not, because I always wonder how that works. I've worked with a partner for a long time and we pretty almost killed each other. But so you had sort of a very similar vision for what you wanted to do before you started into this? We
did, but we also allow each other space to use our own styles. When I edit Elaine's essay, I'm not trying to make it sound like what I would write. When she edits my essay, she's not trying to inject her personality. So we have a respect for the fact that different writers have different styles, and that's good. That, you know, I think that actually benefits the book. Yeah.
And you also have a radio show that's very literary. And can you tell us about that for those who haven't heard? Sure.
It's called The Writer's Block, and it's on Boise Community Radio, and it airs every Thursday from noon to 1. So that's 89.9 FM or at radioboise.org. And I just really wanted to give a voice to writers, poets, people in publishing, editing, educators, screenwriters, playwrights. Like I said, we have this rich literary community here, and I just think it's important to give a voice to those people, and so that's what the Writer's Block does. It's just a show to people can talk about their craft. They can also read their work and kind of get the word out. Yeah.
Well, so you have a pretty good grasp of the creative community here for the things, because you work in radio, you've worked in radio and television and films and books and all that sort of thing. What do you think? Where are we headed in Boise and in Idaho for?
Oh, gosh, where are we headed?
Are we
in terms of media in general?
Media, or I mean, is that creative community growing? Are people paying attention to what's coming out of here? Are we still like on the edge of the map and maybe a little bit beyond?
I don't know. What do you think?
See, I'm not sure. When we first got here, we were surprised at how much, independent film was going on, how many writers were here, how many, creative people. And it seems like there's more and more all the time, but we don't know if, is it because we are meeting more people and we know more about it, or is there actually more happening? And, it's this.
Well, I think the nature of Boise includes a very artistic community. There's a very artistic side to it. artists are drawn to this area, I think. I don't know, is that just me?
Must
I
be.
feel that way.
Yeah, it seems like, well, we've got a
Yeah.
lot to offer when you're not sitting at the computer, like typing out something or,
Right.
or at the,
Right.
editing something.
Right.
You're not too far from skiing or
Right.
rafting.
And then I think when you get like minds, and that's where that networking thing comes into play. And by networking, I don't just mean, let's exchange business cards and maybe we can help get each other jobs somewhere down the line, but that encouragement that I think is so important. When you're around other creative minds, you're inspired more and you want to produce more and you want to raise the bar for yourself for the quality of work that you put out.
Right. So it's support and it's inspiration as well as, call this guy.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's my theory.
Okay. Well, I like that theory.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
They're asking me to tell us more about the guests at the Rendezvous. Is that what you're saying?
So, at the Idaho Writers and Readers Rendezvous, our keynote speakers, Lori Notaro is a humor writer. She's one of my favorites. One of my favorite titles of hers is I Love Everybody and Other Atrocious Lies. So she's very sarcastic, irreverent, self-deprecating. She's wonderful. I think she has 900,000 books in print. She's nearing the 1 million mark right now or something like that. And then Tim Cahill. I don't know if you're familiar with Tim Cahill, but he's scientific, funny.
Again, 2 words that not often used
Exactly,
together.
right. But he's wonderful. We're super excited that he's going to be here as well. Bob Dugoni he's been to Boise before and done some workshops and given some talks. He's a New York Times best-selling author. Some of our own authors here, I mentioned Tony Doerr, also Joanne Pence, she's a mystery writer. Screenwriters, you have David Trottier and Daniel Manis. Kim Barnes, Robert Wrigley, Mary Clearman Blue. There's a whole, and I know, of course, I'm going to leave some people out.
Oh,
but,
no. Yeah, but it's amazing that, now, again, that sounds strange. Amazing that these people can all come here for this event to Boise. That's terrific.
Yeah, well, that's what we want to do. We want to bring, just have a really dynamite lineup in one place so that you say, wow, you're right. I don't have to go to Seattle to go to a big writers conference because we have it right here in Boise now.
And Starbucks too. So
That's
it's not a big deal.
What more do you need? Yeah.
So you had this extensive background in all media before you came here. What brought you to Boise?
My husband and I had finished up working for a few years in movies and television, and we were done with that.
As writers, or?
No, actually, he was a boat captain. And so he got hired on by the Marine Department of certain films and television, and then they had to give me a job too, so I became the buyer for the Marine Department. So I would go.
So you'd buy boats?
I would go buy, I would get a list in the morning, and it would have, certain parameters on, and lengths of steel that they needed, and timber, and grinding discs, and just it was hardware stores. I spent my time in hardware stores basically.
Wow.
So it's not as glamorous as it first sounds when people go movies and TV, and I say, yeah, I was just in hardware stores all day long. So we finished those jobs in movie and TV. We didn't really want to continue with that, and so we had been living in California because that's where my husband went to college, but we're ready to find a new place to settle down. And we took a road trip to Boise, and just that was it. Fell in love. I mean, it was just perfect.
Was Boise the destination, or were you on your way somewhere else?
For that trip, it was Boise. We had looked at other places, and things hadn't worked out, and we were back to square one. And we said, well, let's go to Boise for the weekend. We were in the San Francisco Bay Area, so we drove out got in touch with a realtor, looked at some houses, and an offer was accepted. So we said, oh, well, let's go back to California and pack up a U-Haul and drive out here. And so we just moved out. And
Well, what was it about this area, this place that attracted you? I mean, you've been to California, you've worked in glamorous and unglamorous parts of the movie industry.
oh, sure.
What was it about?
And we never worked in the U.S. in the movie industry. So I actually don't
So you were an
know.
offshore Hollywood, off Hollywood shore, something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We were all over. But I'm not familiar with the movie industry here necessarily. But when we came to Boise, downtown Boise has everything that you could want from a big city, but you don't have to feel like you're in a big city. And I just like that. I like that feeling, you know. I don't know, I love it. I love the park system. I think it has just an incredible park system. I love the Greenbelt. And just visiting in one weekend, you could tell this is a great place to raise kids.
Yeah.
And we were ready to start a family, and so we made the move.
Very good.
I haven't ever regretted it.
And your husband also works now, still works in media. What has he been doing?
Well, he owns Front Street Brokers, so he's in real estate. But he also has the Boise Real Estate radio show. So yes, he's in media as well. Also on Boise Community Radio, and he did a show on KBOI for years, and he's done a lot of radio work here and there. So
Very
yeah.
good. So both of your voices are out there.
Yes.
Very
yes,
good.
they are. Mm-hmm.
Now, so the Drinking with Dead Women Writers,
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Is coming out soon. What's next for you? Because obviously you've finished that.
Right.
Are you doing more in that genre? Or?
Well, that is the first in a series. So this fall we will release Drinking with Dead Drunks. And that is like Hemingway, Bukowski, Capote, Hunter S. Thompson, all of when you think of drunk writers, these are the heavy hitters that you think of. In the meantime, I'm also going to release my own book by myself, which is called This Little Piggy Went to the Liquor Store. You notice there's a theme.
There's a theme,
alcohol.
yeah. I really like that. I mean,
yeah.
So
yeah.
will these be available in liquor stores, or I mean, because it seems like
That is
a
a great marketing idea.
Yeah.
You should be doing marketing consultants.
I did that
yes.
for a long
yes,
time. So
there you go. Yeah, yeah.
Well, they're giving me. Oh, okay. Thank you. They're saying it's going well. They're
good,
telling me from the
good,
side.
Yay. I thought so. Yeah.
So that's. What will that be about on your own?
So that is about sort of parenting, reconciling parenting with a love of vice. It's humor essays. It's nonfiction about maybe not taking yourself too seriously. I think we all have a tendency to do that sometimes. We put so much pressure on ourselves.
What do you mean by that?
Exactly.
Yes, okay.
To succeed in, everything, and then when you're a parent, there's all these added pressures, and, sometimes we all just need to have a martini and relax a little bit.
That's the secret to the whole thing.
It is, yeah. You didn't know that alcohol was going to be this big theme here. Did
No,
you?
it's not.
Hopefully that's okay.
This is straight vodka she's drinking too. I want you to know.
Yes, I requested that.
But I got rid of the straw, so and that was better.
Too much.
And then, so prior to this, were your did you have a lot of alcohol-related titles or subject matter?
No.
So this
but I've almost always written humor. Humor has always been there. And alcohol can be very serious, obviously, but it also makes for a catchy title sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. A good mix, so to speak.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, but other than the writers who are coming to this to the Rendezvous, which is again coming up on
May 3rd through the 5th.
May 3rd through the 5th. What writers do you enjoy? Who inspires you, or who would you like to be?
Oh gosh. Like I said, I'm a big fan of Lori Notaro, who is coming here. I did have something to do with that.
Yeah.
I threw her name in.
One of the best
there.
parts of planning a conference is you get to
Exactly.
talk to your. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I've always been a big fan of John Irving, and he actually has a new book coming out. I'm very excited about that.
Wow.
but he writes fiction. I don't know. I like a lot of nonfiction female humorists. Elaine Ambrose, my co-author, is a female humorist. Stacy Demalski is a Utah writer. She wrote Confessions of a Band Geek Mom. So titles similar to mine, sort of what I'm going for.
So real life experience with the kind of a wry view of it.
Yeah. And laugh about when you mess up, because we're all going to mess up. So yeah.
Almost certainly. I mean, it happens nightly on this show, so it's almost certain to happen. And then, if you have any, I mean, there's a lot. We know there's a lot of writers here, but both published and sort of wanting to be writers. And do you have any advice for those people, for people who are just beginning their careers?
Well, at the end of my radio show, I always end with the same line, and it's, remember, what's the one thing that all writers have in common? And it's not alcoholism or depression or anything like that. It's that they write. So I think my big advice is just to, it's called the butt in chair method. Sit your butt down and write. You can talk about it, you can spend a fortune buying books teaching you how to do it, or you can just sit down and do it. And the more you do it, the better you'll get. And if you're really a writer, you'll never give up.
That's great. Well, that is the secret.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming. I hope that you spend a lot of time in that chair so we can see more of your writing. And
thank you.
We will look forward to Drinking with Dead Women Writers and that whole series of drinking and stuff. And the Writers and Readers Rendezvous is going to be a terrific success. We've heard a lot of great things about it already, and people are very excited about it.
I'm really excited too. I think it will be.
Thanks for bringing it to Boise, and thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Amanda Turner. Thank you all for joining us here on Idaho Media Showcase. Remember, we're every Friday at 7 p.m., every Monday morning at 9 a.m., and check out that Idaho Writers and Readers Rendezvous. Tell us the website again, just in case.
It's IdahoWritersRendezvous.com.
Check it out. It's well worth it, and really a very exciting thing to happen here in Boise. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.